You know, people don't realize all the time and effort that goes into the whole production of
Yeah.
everything. And so usually the end of the year is a time that we like to be intentional and take time to thank
Yep.
our team members and the folks that have helped us get to where we are, business coaches, contractors, et cetera, that have
Yeah.
helped us to. Welcome back to Goings on the
Yes. Welcome
Record.
back.
Today's episode, it's hard to believe we're about to be in fourth quarter
Yeah.
here. And so we want to talk about all the things that we're doing to prepare for our fourth quarter and beyond.
Yes.
Some of these tips may be helpful for you as you start to think about how you want to end the year and end the year strong.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. First things first is like when you think about your business, if you've been in business for a couple of years, you should start to see the trends. Like when is your busy time, when is your slow time, and kind of be able to plan accordingly. For us, quarter four is one of our busiest times of the year. Folks all of a sudden are trying to finish these dissertations. They see people, their friends finishing. They're like, shoot, I got to start the next year with a plan in place to finish. So we see a lot of business, a lot of happening within the fourth quarter. But it's important to plan ahead for. I think that's one of the things. We had a meeting with a potential vendor yesterday who was like, oh my God, y'all are so organized. And the fact that you're thinking at least a quarter ahead is really important. So if we're going to the fourth quarter, you should have planned that with, maybe mid-summer, like
Yeah,
around
no,
June.
we were planning that stuff when we had our mid-year retreat.
Mid-year retreat. So in June, we were already planning for the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
I know it might sound it might sound weird, even though it's really just like the two of us. But middle of the year and end of the year, we have a meeting where we actually come together in person,
Yep.
laptops, everything. Even though it's just the two of us, we have a set agenda and we talk about projections. We talk
Yep.
about business initiatives. We talk about projects. We talk about how we've grown in the last that year to date
Yep.
period and the previous year, and what the trends are looking like, because that's going to impact what we do moving forward. This is something that comes second nature to me, coming from an insurance background,
Yep.
underwriting. You're constantly projecting forward and using historical data, but you can't prepare for a renewal a month before.
Yeah,
You're
no.
typically doing that months and months before.
Yeah.
And so we kind of use that practice within our own business. So really setting the stage and the ground for a strong fourth quarter
Yeah.
is important to do before fourth quarter starts. But if you haven't done so and you're just looking at this episode now, all is not lost, believe me.
Yeah, because if you think about fourth quarter is a unique period with the holiday season, right? So depending on your industry and your business, you might be able to, prepare even right, if it's early September or October, you might still have enough time to prepare for like the Black Friday stuff if your industry, if it makes sense, right? I would say it may not always make sense to do those Black Friday sales and stuff for something that you're doing, but if you want to do that, now's a good time to get that together because that's a great time to take advantage of. People are in the spending mood, so why not, capitalize on that?
Yep. Now is a good time to start looking at your data.
Yeah.
For us, I was a really big proponent of capturing our data
Yeah.
because it really does help inform you to make good, sound
Yeah.
decisions.
Sorry.
So as we go into fourth quarter, what you want to start doing is looking back to January and saying, what have I done in sales? What does my revenue look like? How is that as I match it against what my goals were? What are my leading products that are really, driving my revenue? Who are my star clients, the ones I want to work with over and over and
Yep.
over again, and utilizing that data to make really good business decisions
Yeah.
moving forward. So it's really good to kind of recap what has happened in the year to date.
Yeah, and it's something we do. I think has been really helpful. If you don't do it, in quarter four is a good time to share it. Is like a recap of your year in review that you can show outward to the public. So we do that for our year in review. I liked it. We started doing I think it was last year, the year before. I can't remember which year, but it was nice. Like people really appreciated. Like, oh my God, we see how many students that y'all helped work with that earned their doctorates. How many chapters y'all reviewed. Like essentially showed some of our data to outwardly, and it really helped. I think just paint a picture of like the success we've had with folks.
And the way that came about was really kind of like, I don't want to say it was an accident. I was pulling data together to be prepared to have a conversation
Yeah.
like, wow, look at all that we've done. And I'm like, man, this would be amazing to share with
Yeah.
folks because, our audience sees a testimonial here, maybe there, depending on what the algorithm is doing and what
Yeah.
they've, clicked on, etc. But really being able to see the breadth of the work that we're doing, it would be kind of hard to really put that in terms
Yeah.
of numbers, etc. So that kind of happened by accident,
Yeah.
just by us looking at the data and saying, oh, this is something that's definitely shareable.
Yeah, and it's nice that we are able to share it with our university partners because, like for us in our case, that's who we also are talking to and marketing to. So we're able to say, hey, here's what the success we had with students who just reached out to us on their own. Here's what things look like. Why don't you partner with us as well? And so it's been helpful on that end too to continue to spread the word.
So as you look back at your data, it's going to be able to tell you some key things about how you have been operating this year. Maybe some things that have been successful, some things that have been deficient. I think that's important because as you start to plan, you want to have a banner fourth quarter. You want to end the year strong. Where should you be placing all of your efforts as it relates to that? Because you only have a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So being able to know what products and services do well, that's where you want to pour your time and your efforts and your advertising into, rather than the thing that may feel comfortable but doesn't really do that well.
Yeah.
That's going to be really important as you look at, what you want to focus on in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and then really looking at your income right now. That's a great time to take a look, of course, for your projections, but then to start to evaluate not only top line but your expenses to see have you started to go. If you projected from last year, did you go over in certain areas? If so, why? And then it may help you to determine. All right, maybe next year we need to expand our our marketing budget. Or for our case, like we were running more ads this year. Oh, maybe we need to expand our ad budget to allow for more growth because we see the ads are really working. But you don't know unless you really sit down and review. And even Q4 is a good time to even start thinking about that for the whole of next year.
Yep. I was actually getting ready to say that, and that is setting the stage to start the year. I mean, there's something magical about the end of the year and the
Yeah.
beginning of a new year.
Yeah.
Time is time. It runs infinitely.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, from a tax perspective, from a goal setting perspective, typically people run on some sort of an annual basis. So there is some kind of magic around it, but not really. And so what you want to do is, because it's really like this good stop point or measuring point, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up to start the next year hitting the ground running. You don't have to figure all this stuff out, because a lot of times it takes some time for things to get going.
Sure
You
does,
can't just say, oh, I'm going to start selling this new product and then start it on January 1 and expect to receive, a
it's not
sale on
happening.
January 2. There's a lead up time, there's a testing time, et cetera. So using that data that you've looked at over the last year, and if you have the data to go back and look at previous years past, get an understanding of what direction you want to move into. What products do you really want to promote? What is done well? And what do you want to continue to expand on? And as you start to get an idea of what that's going to look like, that's now going to really be able to help you do your projections or your budget for the next year. So let's say that I have a business and I offer 5 services. My top 2 services are maybe what in the next year I'm going to pour a lot of my resources and focus into. And so if I know that 100 units of both of those is going to equal $300K gross in revenue, then I know, okay, hey, that's what I want my goal is to be, plus or minus a couple percent.
Yeah.
And then you can start planning, okay, based upon me delivering these, what expenses come along, direct or indirect?
Yeah.
And so essentially just by setting yourself up and goal planning, you're also creating what your budget is going to be for the next year.
And then one thing, you touched on it too in your comment, was around taxes. So this is a great time to have that a Q4 meeting with your tax advisor, so you can kind of look at, all right, based on what your income has been so far, what are you projecting to make maybe for this last quarter, and then what does that look like from a tax implication standpoint? Because now, sometimes before the actual year ends, there might be some things you need to do. Some cases, depending on how much money you make, they might say, oh, you need to take $50,000 and go invest in a property or do something else because it's going to save you X amount on your tax liability. So I think now it's a good time to consider.
Sorry, but that you can't do once the new year turns over. So you don't want to have any missed opportunities. So having that Q4 meeting with the person that's going to prepare your taxes and saying, hey, here's some soft numbers about what we projected, what we did. based on this, what's a ballpark in terms of what I could expect to be paying in taxes? What opportunities exist that I need to take care of now
Yeah.
in Q4 that go away in the first quarter of the next year, so that you can go ahead and have time to go ahead and put those things in place?
Yeah, and just to give some examples, something simple as, all right, let's say you spend money in ads. Well, maybe you can front load the spending of your ads at the end of the current year. Let's say 2024, for example, end of 2024, spend a lot of money on your ads so that, in 2025, you're not going to spend it then, you're just going to front load it because you need the tax savings. So, or you need to be able to deduct, you're going to spend it anyway, so why not take it in this current year where you get the advantage now? And so sometimes you have to make those types of decisions. Even though it hurts, I ain't going to lie. So when you got to sometimes, if what it feels like is like giving away money, but depending on what's happening, you're hoping that what you're investing in, yields a return. Because, man, I just hate giving money to Uncle Sam. It's just not cool.
I think it would be we would be having an oversight if we didn't mention being able to celebrate the success.
For sure.
Sometimes being an entrepreneur, it can be thankless.
On to the next one.
It's on to the next one. It's always, the goalpost is constantly moving.
Yeah.
And so taking some time to see what success have you had, where did you start and where are you now, and being able to appreciate those things, and maybe take a day or go have a spa day, or, make sure you take a day off intentionally, unplug from your email and really just kind of refresh your battery a little bit. I think it's super important to make sure you're going into the new year ready, excited, etc. For us, we make sure that even though fourth quarter is our very busiest time, even around Christmas and the holidays that we celebrate, we're still working. We're still having sales calls. But we also make sure that we do carve out some time where, we are celebrating what we've been able to accomplish and the impact that we've been able to make. It's very important.
Or even something as simple as we'll do a trip for ourselves we started doing in January. So even just to plan that and just get that on the calendar is an accomplishment, just so you have something to look forward to, and all this work is not for nothing.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Knowing that okay, we're going to have that relaxation coming up soon.
Yes. Yeah, and then when you think about your planning, not only having your projections, seeing what's working, but again, seeing what's new developments might be happening, see what trends are starting to happen in your industry about how maybe there's a certain way to solicit clients that's not working anymore, but you're seeing some new ways. So sometimes Q4 is a great opportunity to see, all right, what professional development opportunities are there out there for me? Because again, that's something you can invest in as a business owner that, of course, helps you, increase revenue, but also increases your professional development. So I'm always looking for those opportunities, what are some trainings that I can go to or take a part of that would help me, expand what we're doing?
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, all that's deductible now. So,
it's
a lot of that stuff that, when you don't have a business, it's not, at least you have some opportunities when it's in the pursuit of your income. It's helpful to have some things in place. So just have opportunities to expand, because we're always trying to figure out new and great ways to, generate more leads, more income, and impact more people.
I think one last thing that I can speak to that we do is, and Ramon says this all the time, I'm not a one-man show.
Sure ain't.
A lot of times folks see him, they see the content, and it's him in his office talking about dissertation, this or that. And people don't understand
that's the only part I do. That's where my part ends, right there.
People don't realize all the time and effort that goes into the whole production of everything. And so usually the end of the year is a time that we like to be intentional and take time to thank our team members and the folks that have helped us get to where we are. Business coaches, contractors, et cetera, that have helped us to get to where we are. Everyone wants to be thanked. Everybody wants to be appreciated. And it's a really good time to just be intentional about doing that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And before we wrap up, if you're someone, watching, you earned your doctorate, and you're like, I get the Q4 planning, but I'm just not sure how to really start this thing and get my business growing or even start it. We do have a new business accelerator. We're working with folks like yourself and to help you kind of grow your current business or start your business if you're someone in the first ideation stage of it. So definitely, if you're looking for support and you want to hit the next year with having your business going and generating the income that you want. So, make sure you reach out to us. We'll have a link in the description to schedule a time with us to chat more about how our business accelerator could help you get to the next level.
All right. That's everything.
Yeah, I think it's it. Make sure I get y'all planning in. Talk to that tax person, y'all. 'Cause I need to save your money.
Please.
Trust me, nothing worse than making a lot of money and got to pay a lot to the tax man. So definitely make sure y'all do that. And with that, that's Goings on the Record. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks.
Peace.